I'm excited to take you through some awesome ideas to help you kickstart a healthy eating plan that really works for you and can kind of carry you through not only the spring and summer, but forward into life. So, I'm in Boston. You guys are in New England, right? Or listening in from anywhere. Spring is finally starting to happen here, and we are just so ready for it. My guess is if you're like most folks, you're kind of thinking, I'm kind of ready, but I'm not ready, right? Like t-shirts are coming, shorts are coming, bathing suits are coming, and then, all that stuff that happens when you want to be more active and have the energy to take advantage of that weather, the bike riding, the hikes, the more of what you love, you could feel a little maybe apprehensive and thinking, you know what, I got to kind of get some things working better for you. And so in today's webinar, I'm going to help you start to activate that. I'm going to help you turn an intention into action. And together, we're going to help you start to take control of how you eat and feel. I'm going to show you how to activate healthy eating to just feel better, to improve your moods, your energy, your sleep, to get to and stay at your ideal weight, and to get relief from things like joint pain, headaches, digestive issues, skin issues, and prevent and manage diseases. So things like diabetes or any elevations in blood sugar, heart disease and stroke, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high triglycerides, autoimmune conditions, and even things like cancer are connected into how you're eating. And I'm going to help you understand the why and the how behind it. So in today's session, together we're going to turn I want to into I'm actually eating better. We're going to create your Eat Well plan. So we're going to identify why this matters to you, because in working in behavior change, we've spent kind of years on that. But what really matters is that you got to connect this in with the reason that matters for you. And we're going to help you find yours. We're going to then translate this into 2 simple actions you can take to really improve how you eat. And then you're going to map some food ideas that work for you. And then at the end of this, I'm going to take you through a really awesome offer for anybody that's in your organization and even the national organization, where you can try out my program and we'll get your eating working even better for you. So I want to tell you a little bit about me. So may the force be with you. This is me and my family. My name is Sue Levy, and I created Savory Living. My mission is to make millions of lives better with the power of food as medicine. So I'm a behavior change expert, and I've spent 20 years creating programs to help people improve their health. And the reason why I care so much about food is I have a real personal journey to it. So I know firsthand what's possible when you can get your eating working better for you. So I'm 54 years old, and I want to take you back to my mid 30s because that's really when my health started to change. So I had, all sorts of kind of things starting to crop up. So extra belly fat, my triglycerides, cholesterol were rising, all sorts of digestive issues. So IBS, acid reflux, delayed stomach emptying. And then I got a pretty scary diagnosis that I actually live with today. So I live with a rare and progressive lung disease. It's called LAM. And when I got my diagnosis, they said it's really not good. Most women with my disease need a lung transplant in 10 years' time. And so you can imagine, like, the next question you have is like, well, what's the survival rate for lung transplants? And that's kind of equally sobering. Only half of the women are still alive 10 years after a transplant. So you can imagine, to hear that I might only have until I was 54 years old to live was pretty show-stopping. But I'm an optimist. You're going to get that sense about me. And I said, oh my gosh, there's got to be a mild patient or two. Like, what are these women doing? And I really need to know. And they said, there's some women, they live into their 90s. They have a slower progression. And I was like, great, that's my lane. Get me in that one. What do I need to do? And they said, we're really not sure. You got to maybe wait and see. And, maybe lifestyle intervention could help. And so wait and see has never been a good answer for me for pretty much anything, but definitely not when my health was on the line. And so that was really the beginning for me, where I went back to school just to study what the experts in the scientific and medical community had to say about eating to support your health and slow down disease. And when done correctly, healthy eating reduces inflammation, which is connected to most of the major diseases and conditions of our time. And when I figured out how to activate it in my life, that's really when my transformation happened. And I've seen it for the thousands of people that have been through my program. I took off the extra belly fat, my triglycerides, cholesterol normal, digestive issues. I'm going to knock on wood here because it's now over the 15 years and I'm not on a single medication to manage my digestive issues, and I was on a lot, but I'm really going to knock because my lungs have been holding firm and strong. Then there's my moods, my energy, my sleep. It all just got so much better when I got my eating working better for me. So what I know is that what they tell us is absolutely right. How we eat really matters. But what I also know is changing it is so hard to do. One size doesn't fit all. Diets fail. It's a real hard thing to kind of figure out, and it requires a decent amount of education, new skill development. You got to learn how to cook, flavor, make healthy food, taste great, do it in minutes, eat well anywhere. And these are skills that no one's really teaching us. And I feel like really need to get people there. And so that was the beginning for me and why I created Savory Living, to put the power of healthy eating in everybody's hands. And I'm super excited. We've been out there for about 11 years. We started with consumers signing up for our program. We moved into large employers offering our program. And now we're in health plans and health systems where nurse care managers are using our program to help solve the food piece with their patients and their members. And doctors' offices are using it. And so I'm super excited also from a health equity standpoint to just really get the knowledge and the skills to get more people eating right and feeling better. So my mission is to make millions of lives better. And I'm super excited that you are on and listening to this webinar. And we're going to start with you tonight. So this is my program, but I am here really to reinforce one key thing, which is change is absolutely possible. It just takes a different approach, a behavior change approach. And that's what I've built into what I created. But those are some of the ideas I'm going to take you through today as we build your plan. So let's figure out how to improve your life with food. So what I want you to do is grab a piece of paper and a pen. And what we're going to do is create a plan for you. And so what I want you to draw on the piece of paper, make a big plus sign in the middle of it, title it My Eat Well Plan. And then we're going to create 4 quadrants. So in the upper left, you're going to include your signs of inflammation. So you're just going to write the header, signs of inflammation, and we'll work through the section by section in the webinar. To the next area on the right, that box is what I'll lose. And then on the bottom left, write in actions and put a number 1 and a number 2. And then on the bottom right, we're going to map some breakfast ideas, some lunch ideas, and some snack ideas. So I'll just give you a couple minutes to create your sheet. And for folks who are watching a video of this afterwards, you can always hit a pause button and take your time on the stuff too. So let's get started with the signs of inflammation. That's step 1, and we want to identify yours. So the opportunity really is to eat to feel better. Over half of us, so that's half of the people you know and love, are living with a disease or condition driven by inflammation that's improvable with diet. So that's things like anxiety and depression, fatigue, belly fat, joint pain, digestive issues, headaches and migraines, skin conditions, food sensitivities, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, autoimmune conditions, and cancer. So disease is one thing that people tend to focus on, and I'm guessing in kind of the work that you're doing and working with different members and patient population groups, you tend to focus on the diseases and conditions people have, and those are absolutely driven by inflammation. But what I want to tell you is the things on the top of this list really impact someone's quality of life, and these are also connected to inflammation. So you solve inflammation and work on that, you're getting somebody super excited about what's possible because you can really transform a life this way and solve what's really bothering you and the people you love. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the power of healthy eating and why it works so well. And when done correctly, healthy eating is reducing inflammation. Think of inflammation like this smoldering fire that's destroying healthy blood vessels, tissues, and cells. And that's the danger of it. And what I want to take you through next are signs and symptoms of inflammation. So they're diseases, conditions, things that have been connected to in the literature and the data out there to inflammation. So the first one is belly fat. Where you carry your weight matters. If it's in your chin, your arms, your backside, you may not like it there, but it is not putting you at risk for diseases. If it's in that belly region, it absolutely is, and you got to do something about it, or you're going to start to see the things that crop up next on this slide crop up in your life if they haven't already. Mood and brain conditions are connected to inflammation, so things like depression and anxiety. ADD, Alzheimer's and dementia, Parkinson's, seizures, pain, so things like headaches and migraines, joint pain, arthritis, fibromyalgia, connected to and driven by inflammation. Digestive issues of any kind, IBS, Crohn's, colitis, ulcers, gas, bloating, heartburn, constipation, diarrhea, connected to and driven by inflammation. Heart disease and stroke, so high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high triglycerides, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, any elevations in blood sugar. Immune and autoimmune conditions, so things like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, chronic fatigue, multiple sclerosis, thyroid, allergies, asthma, eczema, anything with an itis means inflammation, and cancer. And I'm sure you guys have seen this around COVID and inflammation. Doctors have found that some of the serious damage infected adults have endured has been caused not just by the virus itself, but by an aggressive immune response that creates destructive inflammation in the body's organs. The good news is your fork and knife, something everybody has, are the most powerful tools you have to reduce inflammation. It's about eating. This is from the Harvard Medical School, and they say, doctors are learning that one of the best ways to reduce inflammation lies not in the medicine cabinet, but in the refrigerator. You can eat to fight off inflammation and improve your health. Okay, so let's start. Let's write in your signs of inflammation. So this is my example, right? I had the belly fat, the headaches, the constipation and heartburn, the joint pain, and the lung disease. So take a minute now, look at this list, and write down the things that are your signs of inflammation. Okay, one done. Let's move on to number 2. We got to identify why this matters to you. I told you about my behavior change program. A key piece of staying motivated, figuring it out, and really making changes, you got to ground this in something important. If it's a nice to do, I should do, oh yeah, you will never get to it because life is way too busy. A good friend of mine once said to me, we have exactly enough time to do what needs to be done. So if this is a need to be done for you, you got to identify the why and you will make it so. So I want you to answer this question for me. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it that you get your eating working better for you? 1 is not really important. 10 is this is really important. Write down your number. Now answer this question for me. What will you lose if you don't figure this out? Interestingly enough, people tend to focus on what is it that you'll gain. That's not as motivating or as impactful as focusing on what are you going to miss out on or lose if you don't make this happen. So think a little bit about that for yourself, and I'll give you some prompts and thought starters. So mine, for example, were I'm going to keep running to the bathroom with my digestive stuff and keep missing out on life, or I'm not going to be able to keep up with my kids, or I'm going to be sick and not able to do what I love, or ultimately have a shorter life because of my lung disease. So for you, let's play out a couple of these and just maybe write them down if any of them kind of work for you. Maybe you're tired of feeling bad. You're not going to have the energy to do what you love, or you're you keep feeling uncomfortable, the pain, the bloating, the constipation, or you won't feel good about how you look. Or maybe you're tired of missing out. You know, you won't be able to play with your kids and your grandkids. You won't want to be in all the pictures when people are taking them, or you won't be able to take hikes and kayak and do the things that you love. Or maybe it's that you won't be able to live life on your terms, right? Whether that's how long you live or how it feels when you're living, right? Maybe you'll continue to feel badly and have low energy, or you'll be held hostage by your migraines or digestive issues, or the diseases you might live with would rob you of the life that you want to lead. So take a minute now and come up with what it is that, you're going to lose, right? And write them down. Write a couple of them down. If you don't have one's fine, write a couple. Just write them in your chart. Okay, on to step 3. We're going to help you translate this into action, and I'm going to give you 2 easy actions. So let me help you understand the why, because that's a key piece of making change. And my program does a lot of this, because if you want someone to change something, you got to appeal to their brain first and teach them some stuff. So what I want to talk to you about is what healthy eating is, right? And so the beautiful thing is if you look at what the experts are saying. So by that, I mean the major disease associations and organizations, right? The Heart Association, the Diabetes Association, the Cancer Society. You look at the 2 diets that perform the best from a health outcome standpoint and also compliance. People enjoy living and eating on them, right? The Mediterranean diet, the DASH diet. You look at evidence-based guidance that has no food lobbying included in the mix, right? That's Harvard's healthy eating plate. They look at large groups of people over long windows of time and they say, what diseases do they get and what guidance can we give people? The beautiful thing is that these guys are all saying fairly consistent things, which is awesome because it means get your foundation lined up with what they're recommending, and you go a long way to slowing down, avoiding, managing most of the major diseases and the conditions that we talked about of our time. And healthy eating done correctly reduces inflammation. So what I want to talk to you about is this concept. Okay, so a lot of us grew up with this, like, eat a well-balanced diet, eat a well-balanced, right? And in actuality, like, you don't really know what to do with that because you're like, well, I guess the food's healthy, so I'm just going to eat it and eat a lot of it. And what they've discovered now is that you actually want to move yourself to a place of imbalance, where even in the world of healthy foods, it is not all the same. You want to eat more of some, that's the plus sign, and then eat less of others, that's the subtraction sign. And what you want to also do is identify what you're not digesting well, because those undigested food particles make their way out of your gut into your bloodstream, and then your immune system gets activated to clean up the mess. It's like when there's a spill in the supermarket in aisle 5 and clean up. And so, your immune system's doing what it's supposed to do, but that inflammatory process kicks in and it's not shutting down. And as you get older, it happens even more so. And so that's the piece and kind of why these 3 are really essential. And in my program, we're working people through a process where they're getting these pieces activated in their life and figuring it out experientially. But for today's discussion, I'm just going to focus on number 1 and number 2 and just give you a tip in each of those that you can put in place now. Your job, first and foremost, is to think of yourself as someone who crowds in nutrient-rich foods. So many times when you talk about healthy eating, people automatically go to that kind of diet strict approach of what you can't eat. I shouldn't have it. I'm not gonna, oh my God, I'm not gonna eat that. In reality, what you wanna do instead is focus on the plus side of the house. You will have way more agency and you will really start reducing inflammation and feeling great when you focus on crowding in the good stuff. It's very simple. You gotta eat more veggies and some fruits. You wanna aim to make vegetables about half of what you're eating a day. Okay, so when your head hits the pillow at night, you need to think about what it is and what's been going on for you. You got to eat the rainbow, which is all sorts of colors, half raw, half cooked. Go for variety. And the reason why is there's just so much that they really don't know, but there's different properties and aspects of food, and you got to eat real food to get it. You can't get it in a shake and a pill, and just diversify what you're eating and eat the rainbow. And I don't mean Skittles. Anyway, it's kind of my age. Green is a color that absolutely goes with everything. So crowd it in, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Include healthy protein when you're eating. That's going to slow the release of sugar, help you feel full and satisfied. I want you to crowd in the plant-based sources of protein like beans and lentils, unsalted nuts and seeds, fatty fish like salmon and mackerel are great, and choose lean cuts of meat. So how do you put that into practice? What I want you to think of is your job is really assembling. Okay, that's it. Take the pressure off, and you can assemble no matter where you're eating. You want to take a plate and you want to mentally draw the peace sign on it. So you're dividing that plate into thirds, and you're going to assemble 2 to 1. So 2 parts of it you're going to fill with a carbohydrate, and a carbohydrate is anything growing in the ground. It's not just like grains. People think it's grains, but it's other things. I'm going to take you through what that is. And you want to fill 1 part with protein. So paint by number, assemble things that you love. A carbohydrate is any vegetable, fruits, and whole grains. The key thing with grains is you want to eat whole ones to get all of the nutrients and the fiber and everything into you. But the challenge is that you got to figure out the right amount, because they recommend anywhere from 1 to 3 servings, and that's a big swing. And so you got to figure out the right amount that keeps you in balance and the right kinds. And my program does that with people. So for the purposes of this, I'm really going to talk to you about the vegetables and the fruits kind of as your carbohydrate piece of this plate, but whole grains are absolutely included. When I talk about protein, that's the plant-based sources, right? The beans, the lentils, you can find, just buy the lowest salt version of canned beans that you can and rinse the heck out of them. And I keep them in my cupboard in a row. No end of bean dips you can find now. They've got like Mexican flavored black bean dips. They even have like an awesome, my Stop and Shop carries an Ithaca brand hummus that's like buffalo ranch. It's a non-dairy one, but I dip carrots in it and feel like I'm having like hot wings, even though I'm doing better with my carrots. For nuts and seeds, just go for unsalted, you can find nut butters out of everything, get them slivered, sliced, roasted, you name it. Animal proteins, that's the egg, the chicken, the fish, the lean cuts of animal meat, and then dairy. So Harvard says have no more than 1 to 2 servings. And we talk about the why in my program more, but a serving is like a cup of a yogurt or a milk or a slice of cheese. So let's talk about the subtraction side. And I'm going to talk about sugar, but what I want you to do is remember, I'm not saying you can't have sugar, because that's not right. The problem is when you take in too much sugar. And if you've got that belly fat or signs of inflammation, it's a pretty good indicator that you're taking in more sugar than your body can handle. And so you're not alone. You're in very good company. The average American is taking in 3 times the amount of sugar that our bodies were designed to handle. And that's connected to and driving inflammation. So I'm going to teach you one tip in my program. We teach you a lot of tips, but I think this is a really practical good one, because you're out there in the real world navigating packaged processed foods. And I don't mean your apples that come wrapped up in plastic or your spinach in a bag. I'm talking about blended products, okay, where they're manufactured, they're created, they got some ingredients in them, and they got a nutrition panel on them. So let me play this one out, because I want to teach you how to navigate those types of foods. In my program, we teach you how to navigate natural whole foods too that way, but we're focusing on packaged processed foods. So it's a busy day, right? You're like, I'm going to have, oh my gosh, look at that. You're shopping and you see the green machine. It's by Naked, right? It's a blend. It's got kale in it and all sorts of good stuff. Doesn't seem like a lot of calories. No sugar added. So your question is, do I buy this thing? Is it good or is it not? So here's how you evaluate it. In your packaged processed foods, you can have sugar. There's just a daily limit that they recommend. So know your limit. For women, it's 24 grams, men 36, children, it's anywhere from 16 to 32. Remember that number, because what you want to do is turn every package over and look at the label. And you want to really look in two places. You want to look in sugar, and you want to look at the total sugar line. Whether it's added or whether it exists does not matter. It is about the sugar load in that product. And then you want to look at the serving size, because sometimes they're sneaky, those marketers. They want to report a lower number, so it's not really the serving size that you end up eating. So you got to double your number. But thankfully, in this case, 1 bar is what's being reported, and that's what I'm eating. But that's 29 grams of sugar. So as a woman, I just blew up my whole day on this one fast solution. So before you say, oh my God, I can't eat packaged foods, not at all. Knowledge is power, and with that power can come change. You want to choose versions that have less sugar and find the ones that they sell near you that you like and work. So instead of that Lara bar at 24 grams, go for a Kind bar, 5 grams of sugar, which is pretty great. Instead of going for sugar-covered raisins in your Total Raisin brand, have that same experience, just get it without the raisins, and you're down from 17 to 5 grams of sugar, and add your own raisins. You don't want to get me started on some of these yogurts and flavored, and be really careful. Like that super smoothie from Stonyfield Farm is 38 grams of sugar, right? You're like, I'm good, it's natural, it's organic. No, you're torpedoing what's going on for you. Go for plain yogurt, and Greek is great because it has more protein in it. It'll slowly release the sugar, keep you full longer. Add your own fruit, even add your own sweetener or your own vanilla, and you're way better off. Coffee, I always get that question. Coffee actually has a good amount of, there's good properties in it from a health standpoint for people. The challenge is more the blended milkshakes coffee drinks that we're making. So depending on the size and the concoction you get, a small can get you anywhere from 45 to 65 grams of sugar, and a large anywhere from 85 to 140. So I am not sharing this information with you to tell you do not have, never have. What I'm telling you is that you can start to see, when you understand some of these things, you can make subtly different choices for yourself that will get you into better alignment and will reduce the sugar load in your system and really help you with inflammation. So let's go back to my first question, right? You turn this thing over, and in just one of these, it's 53 grams of sugar. And they're like, well, added sugar's 0. Doesn't matter. It's the sugar, right? Seems healthy. Totally not. All right. So let's translate what I just told you about into the 2 actions, right? So for me, it's the assemble and eat 2 to 1. And for packaged foods, check out those sugar grams. Stick to your daily limit. For me, it's 24 grams a day. So write these 2 in. Get them into that quadrant. All right, we're on to the final pass here, step 4. And we're going to start this, but you're going to be able to do more of this kind of after we finish, because everybody's got different preferences. But what we want to do now is really figure out, when the rubber hits the road, what are some ideas for you? And so we're going to map some breakfast ideas, some lunch ideas, and some snack ideas. So let's talk about breakfast, right? And that's, again, assembling and eating 2 to 1. What I always tell people is start with what you and your family like to eat, and then figure out how to get the proportions of it better lined up. So for example, if you like eggs in the morning, great. Instead of just a cheese omelet, get some vegetables into it. Get that frozen spinach, frozen broccoli, and what you do is you just thaw a bunch of it in a cold bowl, a bowl of cold water for a couple minutes, strain it, and then you can flavor it up in the pan and get it into your omelet. If you're going to have oatmeal, okay, but you got to get some fruit in there and some protein in there to slow the release of sugar. And if you're like, you know what, I can't get nuts in that, fine, maybe have a hard-boiled egg on the side. Figure out another way to get the protein in. My kids love waffles, so I, of course, won't let them just have the waffle. I slather on a nut butter and some fruit. Some other great solutions are eggs and veggies and beans. There's also a dark green smoothie. You'll learn that in my program. And if you guys decide to kind of take advantage of going through it for free, which is my offer to you, you can see that in the first session, which will really give you a nice way to power up your day with nutrients. So take a minute now and just write in and just start with what you normally have for breakfast and think about how you can make it more 2 to 1. Okay, let's move on to lunch, right? Lunch, again, 2 to 1. So what I tell people is if you're having a salad, one of the biggest traps people kind of fall into when they try to eat healthier is they're like, I'm gonna have salad. I'm just gonna have salad. And they don't have any protein. And then like in an hour and a half, they're like starving and then like brain screaming out for the cookies. And it's just like hard. You got to kind of keep yourself satisfied. And so you got to make sure you got the protein in on that salad. But the other thing that you can also do, I love for lunch, and if you're going out or other places, is always think 2 vegetables and a protein. And I'll do this a lot in a restaurant. I'll be like, because they tend to give you a lot of protein and maybe a tiny little vegetable and then a lot of grains. And so I say, hey, I noticed you have asparagus with that thing. Could I get some asparagus on that? And maybe I'll do double veggie. And then I take some of the protein home. I'm also a huge fan for me where lunch is always leftovers from dinner. So dinner's my big, yeah, I love dinner. I just love to sit as a family and eat. And so I make a lot of leftovers from dinner become our lunches. But let's say you're having a sandwich. Okay. Can you get some veggies into that sandwich? Can you get a salad on the side? Can you even have some carrots and some celery and some cucumbers on the side of that? Soups are a great way to crowd in veggies. You'd be surprised how much you can just kind of jam in. And then there's no end to those great restaurants, the kind of the quick service ones that are the bowl where they're like, what veggies, some protein, some grains, and a dressing. You can also make your own bowls and get the ingredients going. So take a minute now and just think about what would be a good 2 to 1 lunch and map that out a little bit for yourself. So the next area I'm going to talk to you about are snacks. And actually in my program, we don't call them snacks, we call them power boosts because they're actually a great part of helping you get your eating working better for you and managing the sugar cravings and kind of the overeating and all those aspects kind of come into place when you make some shift to some pieces. And so what I like to tell people is think of it like it's a real opportunity to crowd good stuff in. If we're trying to make half of what you eat a day, vegetables and things, you got to work pretty hard and kind of every time you're eating, you need good ideas to make it happen. And so we tell people plan for 2 a day and they happen between your meals. So between breakfast and lunch is a snack and between a power boost, and then between lunch and dinner is another one. And I think you're really going to notice a difference in how you feel, like your energy, your cravings, and you will ultimately end up eating less food over the course of the day when you space it out like this. But what I want you to do is just play around with it. And so again, it's 2 to 1. So I always tell people make 1 vegetable and make 1 fruit. If I don't do that, everybody makes them both fruit. And then I'm like, no, you got to get the vegetable in. And so for the vegetable, which is that first row, is it red peppers and hummus? Is it cucumbers and cashews? Is it carrots and olives and a hard-boiled egg? You decide what you love. Just assemble it. For fruit and protein, I love that sweet gala apple with that beet flavored hummus. Is it, berries and grapes with almonds? Is it clementines with string cheese? And it doesn't have to be just raw. It can be cooked food too. So it can be leftovers from dinner. Is it some chili? Is it some chicken with, some vegetables on the side? Is it a soup, a smaller portion? Just think of your snack like a dessert size plate and your meal is a big size plate. So what I want you to do is really set, set a snacking plan for yourself. I call it 1, 2, 3, and I do this with my kids. Fruit and protein, veggie and protein, and then you can have that crunchy thing that you want. Okay, so it kind of works that way. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be fruit first, but just make sure you're 1, 2, then the salty, crunchy snack. Get yourself some good containers. This is such a logistical piece, but it seems small, but it makes a world of difference. When you can just assemble into these pieces, and I have a great video on how to do this in that first session, it just makes it fast, easy, and you get into a rhythm, and there's no end to awesome containers out there. I find them when I'm like at TJ Maxx shopping and in line, they've got all these containers and things you choose from, and containers really make it easy. Pack your stuff up for the day. Even if you are home, like I pack everybody's stuff and then I've got it. I don't have to think about it because if you have to think and stop in the middle of a work day, like it's disruptive. And that way you can look at your whole day and be like, what is my lunch? What are my snacks? How does all that look? Is it what I want? And then you're ready to go. And I actually keep them by my desk with, and I set an alarm on my phone. So what I'm going to have you do ultimately is on your own, map out your ideas, but really think proactively about how to assemble 2 to 1 and how to get more of the good stuff into what you're already eating and how to get more of it into some new ideas and things that you're eating. So another tip I want to give you is that food needs to taste great. Like if you turn healthy eating into this like jail sentence of deprivation, you're not going to make it. Okay. And it needs to be fun, fast, easy. You got to get some new skills for that. Like I like to tell people you can make a grilled cheese without a recipe. Well, the same thing has to be true for these beautiful nutrient rich foods. And that's a key piece of behavior change. And if you disregard that piece, it's hard to turn it into a lifestyle. And that's the piece that really, when I'll take you through kind of savory living, like that's a key piece, teaching people how to easily and effortlessly flavor their food and make more good stuff taste great. And that's really the art of how you cook and flavor healthy food. So you got to be able to move beyond the same 3 vegetables prepared the same 3 ways. Like I like to tell people you wouldn't eat your pasta plain and overcooked. Like, why are you doing the same thing with these beautiful vegetables that you need to eat more of? And you got to be able to create variety and appeal to even the pickiest of eaters, which is really important. And that's learning some skills to do it. And that doesn't mean you just need more recipes, because there's no end to recipes out there. What you need to learn how to do is easily and effortlessly, like you can fry that egg or make that pasta dinner without a recipe, do the same with more of these foods that you actually want to be eating. And that's learning the cooking techniques, the form it takes, you add to it, and how you balance flavors. I'll give you a great example, right? Like we say to people, why don't you make Wednesday night burger night? Do you want to make it out of grains, out of beans, out of chicken, fish, beef, you name it? What vegetables get into it? And then are you in the mood for Italian food? Do you like Greek food? Do you like food, Southeast Asia? What do you like and your family like? And let's flavor it to work that way. I have a great anecdote where for my kids, I don't do tuna because it's really high in mercury. You learn that in the protein class, but I do a canned salmon. And so I mash it up with mayonnaise and tons of veggies in it. And my kids love Indian food, so I do curry powder. And they usually love it. And one day I'm making it and I reach for the curry powder and I'm out. And I'm like, oh, all right, I'm going to go to Mexico. That's lime, that's cilantro, that's black beans. And I think it tastes amazing and my kids won't touch it. And so I'm like, well, if I didn't know what I knew, I'd say they don't like salmon. No, they ate the other one. They don't like the Mexican food flavor profile. Okay. What do they like? Is it Italian? It's garlic, olive oil, splash of lemon juice, you name it. Let's make it just taste amazing. And so my program is teaching you that. In the tongue in the lower left, there's 4 tastes that you recognize: sweet, salty, sour, bitter. Every beautiful dish has all 4. And so a lot of people just keep adding salt when in fact it needs a little sweet note, which is the sugar, or a splash of lemon juice, which is the sour note. And so we're teaching you how to do that in the program, which really liberates you, and your food tastes great. It's easy, it's fast, and you're getting more good stuff in. And here's the deal. You can do this on any budget. I hate when, people, they have you hunting down goji berries from the Himalayas or expensive things. No, this is food at Walmart, Stop and Shop, Target. Like, this is health equity delivered, and you can get it wherever you're shopping in all the neighborhoods. So I'm going to take you through a couple slides on my program now, because I'm excited to offer you guys a chance to try it out. And if you decide this is for you and you want to do it, you can go through it as my guest. My mission is to make millions of lives better. And I think you are making so many lives better with the work you're doing that it's an honor to help support you. So I'm going to take you through my proven program. So the opportunity we talked about, right, is food is medicine. And this is from Harvard. And it's true, right? You can lower your risk for the most serious diseases of our time by following a healthy diet. And it's about reducing inflammation, which we talked about, and your fork and knife are the skills to do it. But here's the challenge. Over half of us say it's easier to do my taxes than it is to figure out how to make this happen. And that's the reason the change we need to see in this world isn't happening. This is from the director of the USDA, and they say Americans have not made significant improvements in their diet quality over the past 10 years. Think about that. And there's no end of solutions out there, right? You've probably put a lot of your folks through these disease education programs, weight loss programs, nutrition counseling, meal plans, food discounts, recipes, trackers, meal kits, meal delivery, shakes, bars. They solve one or two pain points for a period of time, but they're not getting to lasting change on the scale that we really need to see. And I believe as a behavior change expert, it's because they're missing the key pieces you really need to change someone's behavior. If you want them to change what they're doing, you've got to teach them how to eat. We teach our kids how to drive, how to read, how to do math, and no one's teaching us how to eat, and that's key. You got to solve inflammation. Yeah, you'll get to your weight goals when you do that, but you got to solve the headaches, the joint pain, the digestive issues, and the diseases. I just want to give you one anecdote because it's interesting. Like care managers use our program to help with the patients that they're and members that they're managing. And 9 times out of 10, when someone comes into our program, they tell us the diseases and conditions they have, right? And then they also tell us their vision and their goals. And so then 9 times out of 10 is someone comes in with one or more diseases. Those diseases don't make it into their goals. Instead, they say, help me with my joint pain so I can keep up with my grandkids, or I'm tired of those headaches torpedoing my life, or those, the digestive issues enough. And so when you can talk to someone about solving and working on all those aspects, suddenly they're like, I'm ready to change how I eat. That's what I want. The third piece is eating as a verb. It's a series of behaviors you go through over the course of the day. And so you got to teach someone some new behaviors. How do you assemble that plate at Nana's buffet table, at the prepared food section of the supermarket, at that restaurant menu, and in your own kitchen? How do you make it fast, easy, and delicious? And the final piece is you got to give them an easy way to figure it out. You got to guide them through change because so many people burn out taking on too much too soon, and it requires some sort of management to really help them. And this is all the stuff that I set out to crack with my program. So what it is a fun experience that guides you through change. You're activating healthy eating and you're learning how to take control of how you eat and feel. It's a proven behavior change program. It runs online on your schedule, 24/7 on any device. So that means all you need is the internet and 2 a.m. in your pajamas with your phone, you can go through the program. It's personalized to you and includes a coach. It's designed for all eaters and skill levels. We have people that are halal, kosher, gluten-free, dairy-free. We have people who, are going to Chick-fil-A 4 days a week at the start of the program. And then I've got diabetes educators in the Northeast going through our program. We have people who love to cook and people who've never boiled water. It's meeting you where you are. It's a 12-session nutrition and cooking curriculum that I'll take you through. For consumers, it's FSA and HSA eligible, so your flexible spending accounts and health plans are using it because it's a turnkey way for them to solve this sticky, messy eating piece, and it's super cost effective, and we've got great data behind it, but also can demonstrate the outcomes for your populations that are going through it. Some of the results behind it: 97% program motivated and taught me how to eat better. 95% got me to a healthy eating lifestyle I'm still practicing. 92% helped me improve my overall health. We have high satisfaction measures. So we are a 4.8 out of 5-star consumer rating. And our net promoter score, which is how willing would you be to recommend this to friends and family, is an 80. Look at Noom at a 30, MyFitnessPal a 59, and Weight Watchers a 76. People come into our program, and when we leave, we say, just take a picture of what you're now empowered to do and what you achieved. And whether you're Lester on the top left, a type 2 diabetic, cardiovascular issues too, he improved his vitality, his energy, his A1C. A young kid, Zolani, improved his energy, his migraines, got rid of his gas and bloating. Or Liz on the lower left, a mom of 3, lost 20 pounds, got rid of her migraines, sleeps better, and is healthier. Or one of my personal favorites, Howard, a physician who wanted to get off his blood pressure medications. The upper right is just a quote that brings to life what's different. I recommend this to anyone who thinks eating healthier is hard, unpleasant, or takes too much time. What I love is this isn't a diet. It's about making gradual changes that are easy to do. Savory Living simplifies healthy eating and gets it to work right for you. And the bottom right is a third-party review posted on Google, 5 out of 5 stars. And this is from a nurse care manager. She was going through the program herself. And this, I love what she wrote. I'm so glad to have tried this program. I've learned to cook and enjoy vegetables in so many new ways. I'm learning to eat better, control sugar intake, reduce inflammation, and I'm seeing results, weight loss and lower cholesterol. A final quote, this program is phenomenal. It's real eating and enjoyable. I've tried Weight Watchers, Noom, and the Whole30, and they don't compare. What's so different is it teaches you how to eat to reduce inflammation. I feel like a new person. I have energy I didn't have before. I've lost weight, 24 pounds, no more headaches or digestive issues, and I have less pain and inflammation. I've learned healthy cooking techniques that are fast, simple, and delicious so I can incorporate it into my busy life. The food is so delicious that my family loves it. So let me tell you a little bit about how it works. So I talked to you about how we're helping you adjust how you eat to reduce inflammation. And these are the 3 key things. We're helping you figure it out session by session. Each session, you're learning about a topic, applying it to your life, solving it, and moving on. These are the simple actions that you go through. You watch class, which is 25 minutes. You learn about a key nutrition topic, and that unlocks me in a kitchen, showing you the cooking skills and techniques that you need to learn with some of the PDFs. It's then helping you translate what you learned into action. So you pick 3 things that you're going to spend the next 2 weeks trying out. And you're logging how you're eating and you're feeling, and there's a human coach looking at that, messaging you, reinforcing things, asking you questions, and getting back to you within a day with any question that you have. This is the curriculum. It's like a mashup of, on the left there, the nutrition curriculum meets a cooking and flavoring curriculum. And on the nutrition side, we are covering the major topics and what the experts in the scientific and medical community have to say about them, and getting you to activate it in a way that works for you. So we're covering sugar, we're covering weekly food planning, grains, how many, what kinds for you, how to improve digestion and immunity, proteins, which kinds, how much, fat, blood pressures, bones, dairy, calcium, soy, sweeteners. We are covering the major topics and helping you put them into place in your life to see what works for you. From a cooking and flavoring skill, it is all the stuff you need to know to move beyond just strict recipe cooking, to have fun, to make it easy, fresh, taste great, and enjoy an abundance of these beautiful foods. You leave having figured it out. We've done our job well. I don't believe in lifetime membership. I think that's criminal, actually. So you leave with your Eat Well plan. You got what you need. You're sustaining. So if anything in this interests you, I really would encourage you to take advantage of that, of my offer, right? Experience that first session and just, that's all. Don't worry. Don't put stress on yourself. There's no pressure, no risk, nothing. What happens in that first session is you'll experience the program. It's 2 weeks. Each session lasts for 2 weeks. You're going to learn how to eat to reduce your inflammation, how to assemble your plate to eat well anywhere. You're going to take action, pick 3 things you're going to spend those 2 weeks trying out, creating new habits, and working with your coach. And that's going to really get you in a good place for spring moving into summer. And after that session, if you say, you know what, this is for me and I really want to take advantage and I want to do this, no charge. You'll go through it as my guest for all CMSA members who want to. I just ask that you give me feedback on it. If you like it, you let me know, you let others know, and that you really share what you're learning with the people that you love in your life, because together we're going to make millions of lives better with the power of food. And here's where you go. It's savoryliving.com/CMSNE. And that is actually the end of my presentation, but I can open it up for questions. I'd love to answer any and all that you have.
We have 2 questions. One was, can you repeat a little bit of what you discussed in regards to foods that one doesn't digest that will create inflammation?
Sure. So the way it works is, I'm trying to understand the question. Is it that you want to understand? Maybe I'll repeat what I said about it, and then you can ask me more questions if you have them. So what they believe is that there's something called leaky gut that's more prevalent. It used to be that they thought that was kind of nonsense, right? Whatever, leaky gut. But now actually literature's come out about it, and the mainstream medical community really believes it's a thing, which is basically the junctions are kind of opening and food that is making its way out of your gut into your bloodstream. And so what happens is if there's foods that you have trouble digesting, those undigested food particles make their way into your bloodstream, and your immune system does what it's supposed to do, which is clean up what's going on. And that's creating inflammation. So the idea is if there are foods you're eating that you're not digesting well, they can potentially be creating more problems for you than just digestive issues. And digestive issues are actually a sign of inflammation. And where I am on that, and I'll just give you kind of my bias is, oftentimes people are off on some kind of fundamental ways with how they're eating. And so when you get the balance of that better working to line up with what Harvard's recommending and kind of the portions of the proportions of things, usually people tend to do much better. And then you don't need to kind of figure out if there's a food sensitivity or something else going on there. And that's why in my program, we don't go in with that. What we do is get your eating working better by adding in stuff, getting the balance right, and then some of these foods that you want to eat less of anyway, that are healthy foods for everybody, we're helping you taper those down. And then you get to a point where, because it's very experiential, you can say, am I still experiencing signs of inflammation? Am I having the digestive issues, the headaches, the joint pain, the fatigue? Then you know what? I'm going to do a food trial where I'm going to figure out if some of these foods, additional foods, are a problem for me. And it's a great time to do it when you're further along in the program, because you're already got your eating working better. And you're a pretty good barometer to really feel if some of these foods are a problem.
The next question is, my friend lost 89 pounds on Premier protein shakes and 2 small meals a day. Do you feel that these shakes are a healthy option?
I'm really careful in that I don't want to disparage ever what works for someone or different things. I can share my feelings around, I think you got to eat real food to get the nutrients that you need in the form that you need. The camp that I'm in is it's about eating real food and looking what the experts in the scientific and medical community are really saying you need to be eating more of and less of, and making that happen. So I'm not for food created products. I also love Michael Pollan. He says, like, eat more real food. And if your great grandmother wouldn't recognize it as food, you might want to think about if you should be eating it. So I'm like, there's a kind of where I am in that continuum. And there's also a fair amount of evidence about eating food closer to its kind of natural state, which is a really good way to get nutrients and things from it.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, how do you work with different cultures and language?
Yeah, that's a great question. So from a culture standpoint, I can answer that one. We're not giving people meal plans. Okay, so we're not forcing you to eat in a way that doesn't line up with either it can be a medical way that you need to eat and you're working with your doctor on that, and we're kind of managing to that with you. It can also be just your lifestyle and your preferences. And so we're really respectful of all of that. And so what we're doing is we're teaching you the information and helping you apply it in a way that works for your culture, your preferences, kind of where you are. But I'll give you a great example. So some cultures rely a lot on rice, right? Rice, beans, and some other foods. And so we don't say, and we don't demonize something, but if someone has a lot of inflammation, then chances are they're taking in more sugar, and looking at the grains and how much of them you're having plays a role. And so what we've had is people that go through our program in cultures that have a lot of rice, they say, we say to them, great, you know what? And that person will actually make the connection themselves, where they'll say, we're having beans and rice for dinner, but you know what I do? I mix it up now where I got way more beans in that, beans and rice, than rice. And I got a giant salad with it on the side. And so I'm eating this dish, but I've got the proportions of what I'm doing better lined up to help reduce the impact of some of the foods and what they're having on that particular person.
The next question is, what are your thoughts on intermittent fasting?
Yeah, that's a great question. The data is tremendous on that. Like, I think it really plays a large role in your body's insulin response and has been proven. So, but what I love is that you don't have to go so hardcore to get the benefits of it. And so with intermittent fasting, they believe you can actually do it in a period of time overnight. So in our program, we actually say to people, why don't you try this out? Because the data is pretty good about it. Stop eating earlier, like after dinner, try not to eat until you get to breakfast in the morning. And so by fasting those hours overnight, you're getting the benefits of it. That said, we have some people that are kind of on a more rigid plan around that, and they're using our program too. But again, we're kind of about how do you create something that fits into people's life the way that their life is and not have them blow up everything. But it's a great, we recommend the overnight stuff. Yeah.
The next question is, what is the cost for people that are not members of CMSNE?
Yeah, absolutely. And so for me, like with my mission to put this in millions of lives, like I needed to deliver something that was at or below Weight Watchers. I just had to, and then to deliver something of a significant value higher than that. So we are at, right now, there's a 25% discount. So people would pay just $33 a month as they're going through the program. So the way it works is you're paying as you go. You can cancel anytime. And if you do it as intended, it's a session every 2 weeks because you need time to practice each session and then move on. But some people go more slowly because they want to spend more time in each session, or they go away or life kicks in and all of that. And so it's really designed with ultimate flexibility for people. And when you're done, after you finish the final session, it automatically ends your subscription. So it's not like billing you behind the scenes and when you've forgotten. But you can also cancel at any time. And we have some people that solve it after 5 sessions. We have a lot of people that like to stay because the stuff is just pretty interesting and they like learning about it. But yeah.
The next question, are you experienced with insulin-dependent diabetics, and will this lower the insulin usage?
Yeah, so I'm careful. I'm super careful about making any claims about getting off of medications or lowering stuff. What we do is we're that verb that helps you put into action what they're recommending for how you should eat, and then in many cases that has an impact, and then you can work with your doctor on adjusting your medication because of the results your eating has achieved. So that's where I stand on that. But in the first question where you talk about type 1 diabetics, absolutely. We have type 1, type 2. We have kind of most of the major diseases and conditions people going through our program. Somebody wrote, put the Skittles down. That's just really funny. Okay.
So you've answered all the questions that I have here. So wait a minute. I do have